Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Monday, November 14th. 319 days into the new year. Just 47 days left. Wow. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your oh so humble host, Jimmy Church. Yeah. Tonight, oh man, we got one lined up for you. Tonight we have tech journalist Bryan Lunduke in here to talk about the ties between the CIA, the NSA, Google, and Pokemon Go. And if you don't know the story, buckle up, kiddies. This is going to be a great one. Tomorrow night, and it's about time, tomorrow night, Dr. Rita Louise is here. I'm going to talk about her new documentary, Holy Deception. It's about time. You know, she's out there doing it too. Got her radio show. I've listened to her for years. And let's see, Wednesday night, we have author Ronnie LeBlanc and his new book, Monsterland. Thursday night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. It's open lines all night long on Thursday. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. Follow us on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Simple. Facebook, YouTube, everything is Fade to Black. And you don't, or Jimmy Church Radio, whatever. You don't even need to do anything these days, right? You don't have to, those little icons are right there. You just go and click, and, that's what you do. So go follow, like, and subscribe. And you can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Now, the sandbox is hashtag F2B. And the sandbox is our little slice of the Twitter universe. Come and hang out with us over on Twitter. It's great. It's awesome. We use Twitter in our... You know what's weird? And I know that I give this speech maybe every 6 months or so, every 3 months. But I'm going to do it now. We didn't know that Twitter could be what it is, right? We figured that out on our own. Actually, you guys did. I just watched it happen. But it was so great to manipulate the system like we have, right? We've got our own little thing going on in Twitter, and it's amazing. Now, for those that are either anti-Twitter or type too much, or are too fixated with the old AOL chat room days, right? Well, then we have the Spreaker chat room. We have the KGRA chat room, and you can go hang out over there. Okay, that's great. And I get that. I really do. When you're old school, you're just old school. You're going to do that. But Twitter and what it has turned into for us, it is amazing. And, just get yourself TweetDeck. Get it loaded up, get your columns going, and boom. Man, I'm watching what's going on here now. Because right now in Twitter, especially in TweetDeck, watching the conversation start to develop so early on into the show. Same thing over in the chat rooms, too. Everybody's there. I see that. But Twitter has taken on a life of its own. It really, really has. So come over and check it out. If you don't have a Twitter account, just get one. Don't be anti-Twitter. Don't be, it's only 140 characters, man. I got more on my mind than that, dude. And no, it's not about that. It's truly not. You need to come over and hang out with us, and then you will totally get it. It only takes one night. Only takes one night hanging out and seeing how we deal with it. All right? So, with that, let's get the show moving forward here. Oh, man, going to do this first. After I get that opening little thing done, that salvo, and I look down. I kind of take a deep breath. Okay, it's Monday. I'm in the chair. I'm back. Let's go. And I look down, and there's a big steaming mug of coffee. And I just can't help it, man. Screw it. I'm going to do it again. Oh, man. River Moon Coffee. Check out all of our sponsors. Life Change Tea. Go right now. Click on, when you go over to the website, all of our sponsors are there, right? Boom, boom, boom. Just click on them all. Go visit the sites. Life Change Tea. Click on the banner right there, jimmychurchradio.com. Head over to getthetea.com. Everything is very simple. All of the promo codes that you need are in the banner, right? So it's really simple. Just go. Go to getthetea.com. I'm telling you what to do. It's simple. Get on the program. Get your family, your wife, your kids, your husband. Get everybody on the program, your people at work. Go and do it. Just use the promo code Jimmy. That's all you got to do. Go to the specials page, promo code Jimmy, either over the phone or online. You're going to get free shipping. You're in. Do something for yourself. And River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It is just, it's the best coffee you are ever going to drink. That's it. It is the best coffee you are ever going to brew in your house. It's got everything you need. Most importantly, smell and taste. That's the quest for the bean, right? Just go to River Moon Coffee's banner right now on our site. Use the promo code F2B Blend, which is there in the banner. You're going to get 15% off of your order right now. Fade to Black blend. It is dark and tasty. And Studio Dome and their Fade or Not special. 2 SB-B2 speakers. Hi-Fi stereo, true TWS, true stereo wireless technology. Hi-Fi stereo system, $129. All right, now, and just use the promo code JCRTWS, and that is 60% off of your normal price of $399, $129, and you're going to get free shipping. Very simple. Now, I'm going to make a little pre-announcement right now. It's a couple of months away. I kind of hinted on this a few months ago. I got the phone call last week. We're just about ready to go. We're in the testing phase, and then we're going to go into manufacturing phase. But we have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 different Fade to Black headphones coming your way. Yes, designed by moi. Get ready. They are cool, too, by the way. Okay, more on that in a bit. It's just, screw it. Screw it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm very excited. And so that is right around the corner. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Blink 182 Stickman Travis Barker is 41 years old. Now, one thing about Travis, because he's one of the best. He's one of the best. That's it. But go look up Travis Barker. Go to celebrity net worth, right? Google search Travis Barker net worth and watch the number that pops up. That's all you got to do. Dude is a drummer. And go look at the number that pops up. It's going to mess with your head, man. And he's a punk drummer. Oh, my. Oh, my. He's closing in on Trump territory, man. That dude, Travis Barker, today is 41. Patrick Warburton today is 52. He's one of my favorite actors, comedians, funny man. He's nearly perfect in his delivery and his voice. Today he is 52. I love Patrick Warburton, and most people don't know who he is because he's the voice in a lot of things. But he was great in Men in Black too. But Patrick Warburton was Rock Slide. Remember that TV series? Rock Slide. I loved it. And there you go. He was also in Ted, and he was the Tick, right? One of the great cartoons of all time, the Tick. He was the Tick. Yanni today. I said it. Is this thing on? Thing working? Yanni today is 62. All right. On this day in history, 1969, Apollo 12, the alleged second manned mission to the moon, is launched from Cape Canaveral, California. Fader fact. An albatross can fly over 600 miles without flapping its wings once. Think about that for a second. If you could put your brain, if somebody, young Frankenstein, right? Pull your brain out, slap it into an albatross. Now, you don't get your opposing thumbs, so you don't get your legs, you don't get any of that, right? You don't even get to talk. But would you be an albatross? Flying for 600 miles at a crack, just cruising and looking at the world. So have your brain so you could digest everything and enjoy it, right? But would you be an albatross? 600 miles. Jordan just said the moon is flat. Dude, Jordan, we love you, man. And I appreciate the humor. I just hope you're joking. I just hope you're joking. All right. Well, last night, I wanted to say really quick, we went and redid the studio over the weekend. And if you were with us on Saturday night, you know that we did a test run of everything and did a little crazy broadcast at the end of a very, very long day of working and stuff. But anyway, the studio is perfect. The audio is perfect. The levels are perfect. It hasn't been like this in a while. And we've dialed it in and added things, and sometimes you can have the best gear in the world, but there's one little thing or a cable or something. And this technical thing that we've got going on here, look, man, I've got a lot of computers. I've got a lot of audio gear and compressors and things, and just it's crazy. But we went and redid everything again on Saturday, and I'm sitting here right now doing the show, not hearing anything, not being distracted, not worrying about things, not having to turn a knob, and I'm just, this really, really puts me in a great mood. And also last night put me in a great mood, because last night Rita and I went to go see the movie Arrival. And now, before I get to the details, and I'm not, don't worry about it. Well, I'm going to give you my take, but I'm not going to kill it for you, so don't trip. I'm not like, I'm not like Mark Dunbar, that will tell you the end of a movie before you see it. Rita will always, Rita, when she gets a book, she'll read the end of the book and then go and read the whole book. She wants to know the end of a movie. We will start watching a movie together, Rita and I, and cable or Netflix or a DVD, right? And it's in. And boom, she's on her phone looking at the story. She wants to know how it's going to end. And she will do everything in her power to tell me, and trust me, it gets ugly, because I don't want to know the end. I want to be surprised. I want my Saturday morning Christmas surprise. That's it. I don't want to know. Rita, some people can deal with that. I don't. And so I'm not going to do that for you tonight. Okay? No spoilers. I see it. I see it, Kat. I won't kill it for you. Okay, who the hell followed an albatross 600 miles to prove this fader fact? Ziggy, I did. I got on a boat. Okay, so anyway, where was I? Oh, so we go to see the movie Arrival last night. But before I get there, just let me do my thing. Because somebody had sent me Steak and Shake locations in California a few months ago. And as you know, I was born in Chicago, but, did my time in Naptown in Indianapolis, which I'm not sure, but it's got to be the home of Steak and Shake. At least it feels that way to me. And growing up, we had Steak and Shakes everywhere. And I loved Steak and Shake. The last time I was at a Steak and Shake was, probably 1998. 97, 98, 99, right in there. And I even went to the Steak and Shake in my old neighborhood back in Indianapolis on the east side. So anyway, somebody sent me, locations here in California, highlighting one that happened to be right here in Burbank. And I was like, no way, we got a Steak and Shake in Burbank. So I look it up, and I'm like, wait a minute, it looks like it's at the movie theaters. It's outside of the frigging ticket window at the mall. It's an outdoor mall. You walk around. It's in downtown Burbank. It's great. It's beautiful. Everybody's there. All the beautiful people are there, right? It's all good. It's a great place, especially at night. And the theaters are outside. Well, the theaters are inside, but the ticket windows and stuff are outside on the mall. Across the walkway, right? It's a big pedestrian walk. Across the walk is a Steak and Shake. At least that's the way it looked at on Google Maps. Satellite. And I was like fired up, man. So Rita and I are, we're driving across Burbank, and I mentioned to her, hey, I think there's a Steak and Shake here. Really? I said, yes, there's a Steak and Shake. So we parked the car, got out, walked out in that pedestrian mall, and I turned to the left, and bam, there it is. In all of its glorious beauty, the red Steak and Shake sign directly across from the movie theater. And the first thought I had was, I think I even said it out loud, I wonder if they got chili 3 ways, right? If you've ever been to Steak and Shake, you know what I'm talking about. So we get our tickets. And as we're getting our tickets, I look up, and there is, I don't know if Rita saw it first or if I saw it first. It doesn't matter. Right next to the Showtimes board, right, with all the theaters and the Showtimes, right next, I see this. It's a big lit up poster that says, get a drink and take it to the movies with you. I was like, what? And I look, and there it is. There's a bar called McGillicuddy's or something inside the movie theater. Now, I don't know why, but I've never seen this before. I've never seen it. I've never seen it at this theater or any other theater. So when did this start? Right? I know we don't go to the movies that much, a few times a year, but when did that start? How could I have missed this? But I did. And I'm standing there, right? I got Steak and Shake behind me. I got drinks in front of me and a great sci-fi movie just up the escalator. And I'm just like, holy crap. So, yes, we did. We grabbed a couple of Patron margaritas and we head straight for the theater, bypassing the popcorn for the first time in years, by the way. And so now, finally, arrival. We go in, and let me get to the ending first. And then I'm going to work backwards, and don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not like that. But let me get to the ending. The movie had my full attention all of the way to the ending credits. At no point in the film did my mind drift. I didn't think about anything. Didn't think about the show. Didn't think about bills. Didn't think about new shoes or a new watch. Nothing. Didn't think. I didn't. It had my full attention. My mind didn't drift once. I was completely focused. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen ever. I don't care how great the movie is. But not this time around. Arrival had me from the word go. The moments in the movie theater where there was silence in the film, I'm here to tell you, and it was packed. It was sold out last night. It was packed all the way to the front row. You could hear a pin drop. You didn't hear anybody talking. You didn't hear popcorn getting munched. You didn't hear somebody's cell phone vibrating. Nothing. Dead silence. And at the beginning of the movie, and the way that the director set it up, Denis Villeneuve, it was silent. There was no music. There wasn't anything going on. There was just a scene on the screen. And that hung there and lasted with this crane shot and the way that they did it. You know, a typical intro to a movie. All directors want to have that dramatic shot. But there was no music, nothing. And silence. And the theater was focused. And it had me. And it was a brilliant way to start the film. Brilliant. The director, Denis Villeneuve, who also directed Sicario, by the way, he did a great job of telling a story. And if you saw Sicario, and I've seen Sicario a few times now, so if you've seen Sicario, you know how he can build suspense. He has all the details down. It's the way that he tells his story. And now, not talking about Arrival, let's go back to Sicario, because that's, that was last year. You know, by watching Sicario, how he can build it. He uses the platform of a brilliant soundtrack, sound effects, tension, and details. He's got the details down. In Sicario, the characters, the way that was all done with Brolin, it was just the detail. It was about the details. Remember the shootout at the Mexican border and the characters on how everybody, you remember that? Okay. So take that brilliant mind of painting a picture like that. That's what he did in Arrival. He's got the details down, and he lets the visuals pull you along. He is really, really good at this. And in Arrival, he takes it to another level. Villeneuve and his writing team tried to make sure that the movies, I want to say this correctly, that the science was correct because it felt correct. Okay, there was this attention to detail, and it sucks you in. The way that the story is told, and it's complex. I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to kill it for you because the part of the brilliance of this movie is the way that the story is told. Okay, in and out of the picture. So you need to go and check that out. It's a thinker's movie for sure. The scientist and tech dude, Stephen Wolfram, and his son, Gordo Perez, were also consulted to ensure that all of the terminology, the graphics, the depictions, everything was on point. And it was, and they were. You have to see this movie. All of you. Now, you need to go and check this out. And there's a bunch of reasons why, though. Okay, Dennis is a great director. But the list is so long that makes this movie perfect. First off, you've got aliens. You've got aliens. I'm not going to go any further than that. You've got aliens. That's what the movie is about. Well, it's science fiction, right? So that's what it's supposed to be about, right? Okay, so the aliens and how they are, I don't want to say anything else, is astounding. It's absolutely astounding. And you get you get the feeling of, personality and things that comes through in the movie. Very well done. That aspect of the movie. Very trippy. You have time travel in this movie. Again, I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to do it, but time travel is not only part of telling the story, but it's also part of the oh man, I don't want to give anything away. The technical side of it. Okay, you got to go check it out. It's pretty cool. You also have in this flick the mass media and how the mass media treats a subject like this. Very well done. Again, outside of the norm. It's great cinematography. Everything is framed to the bejesus. It is nearly perfect. You have spaceships, really, really cool spaceships. You have alien tech, and I'm going to say this. There's a lot of alien tech in the movie. Not giving anything away, but just remember the gravity tunnel scene. Just remember that. It's amazing. The CIA are in there. And yeah, they're doofuses. And Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin was written for this movie in another time. note that to self when you see the movie. There is a great Act 1. Act 1 is such a great setup for the movie. There's the middle, the Act 2 is a screenwriter's dream. I almost see Oscar in this film, by the way, for the screenwriting. And a great Act 3. Act 3 to the credits, all the way to the credits, to the ending, will astound you. It's gonna astound you. It is the hero's tale for real. This is what great science fiction to me is all about when it comes to movies. It's nearly perfect. But after all of the wonder that strikes you, and as you walk out of the theater, you're going to have this thought. You're going to say to yourself, that was a serious propaganda disclosure film from Washington, if there ever was one. And I promise you that. Then the next thought hit me. Holy crap, there's a Steak and Shake right there, and I wonder if they got chili 3 ways. Well, they did. In fact, they had chili 5 ways and peanut butter shakes. So we got it all to go. We ate in bed, and we talked about Arrival until we fell asleep. It was a perfect day, perfect movie, and a perfect date night with Rita. With that, go see Arrival. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. When I come back, Bryan Lunduke is here. It is going to be the CIA, NSA, and Google all wrapped up into Pokemon Go. It's my gift to you on a Monday. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fadernauts rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight we have tech journalist Bryan Lunduke here. And we're going to talk about the ties between the CIA, the NSA, Google, and Pokemon Go. You're going to have to strap yourself in for this one, kiddies, because and take some notes. It's going to be one of those nights on the show. Tomorrow night, Dr. Rita Louise is going to be here. We're going to talk about her new documentary, Holy Deception. Wednesday night, author Ronnie LeBlanc is here, and we're going to talk about his new book, Monsterland. Thursday night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. It is open lines all night long. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. And then on Friday, I'm over at Coast to Coast, and my guest will be Bryan Lunduke. Strange, right? And open lines Friday night. And Saturday, we haven't made the announcement yet on Coast to Coast, but I'll be over on Coast to Coast on Saturday as well. So it's going to be a long week dead ahead, but tonight it is Bryan Lunduke, and he is a technology journalist covering digital security, online privacy, and open source for the network world. He is a sought-after public speaker on these topics and has written multiple books released under the Creative Commons license, including a children's book, by the way, about, how Linux, it's about Linux and open source. Wow. A free software and free culture advocate. He is also a board member for one of the oldest Linux systems on the planet, OpenSUSE. His website is lunduke.com, and you can follow him on Twitter right now at Bryan Lunduke. I'd like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, my friend, Bryan Lunduke. Bryan, good evening, man.
Hey, Jimmy. Nice to see you, man.
And yeah, you sound like you're right here. You got to love technology.
It's fantastic.
And now, the great thing is, first-time guest, we'll get to some other details in a second, but first-time guest, that means you get the first-time guest disclaimer. Next time you're on the show, you don't get it, but you get it tonight. And the disclaimer is, it's just you and I sitting on my couch, talking as friends. Where we start, where we end, but we're going to end as friends. There you go.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
That's what I'm talking about. Bryan. Before we get to, before we get to this amazing saga, because that's exactly what it is, and it goes back a couple of decades. So before we get to that, Linux, tech writing, and what you do is something that most people respect a lot. I mean, that the nerd culture, the coding culture, the hacking culture, the tech culture is something that we most don't know much about, but we're so intrigued because it's dark, it's mystical, it's complex. Most of us don't understand it.
It's magic.
It is. It truly is. It truly is magic. You are right there in the middle of it. Where did the fascination start? Were you one of those geeks that went to computer class and in seventh grade, were you one of those guys?
Man. I was, when I was a kid, I was kind of if you imagine a dual major when you're in high school, I was half computer nerd, half drama geek. And those two parts kind of just never quite meshed up just right. So I ended up going into the software development world for years and years until it ate my soul alive. And then I kind of pivoted over to tech journalism, where I'm a much happier man.
Yeah, right. Well, did you anticipate, throw me on a little bit of a timeline here, because you're a little younger than me, but not much. We're pretty much the same generation. What year did you finish school?
Oh, I finished high school in 1997.
97. Okay. So
yes.
Okay.
It took me a minute.
Okay. Well, we're a few years, we're 10, 15 years apart, but still, you're a grown up is what I'm saying. in 97, that was probably, 95, 96. And by the time 97 rolled around, there was the writing on the wall, right? There was a brave new world in front of us. Here we are in 2016. Did you think that we would have come this far today, where we are today? Did you expect more, or did you expect less?
Oh, back then I expected so much more and was profoundly disappointed when nothing was quite as awesome and futuristic as I thought it was going to be. But we have come a hell of a long ways in that time.
Well, if you think about it, in 97, everything was brand new. And when I say everything, I'm talking about cell phones, email, right?
Yeah.
AOL. AOL. I don't even know if Time Warner happened. AOL Time Warner happened by 97. Maybe it did.
No, not quite then. Yeah.
Right.
It was a few years after that.
So, it was certainly a brave new world. Technology seemed to be everywhere. DVD players, you know what I mean? Fry's Electronics and trying to go from a 14.4 to a 28.8 modem, and it was an
good times.
You remember PCM CIA cards?
Oh, heavens, do I ever.
Right? And so, and to think about all of the interfacing that was on the back of a computer, all the D-sub connectors and things and printer and what you needed. And like I said, PCM CIA slots and modems. It was pretty nutty. And today, it's pretty consolidated and down to just a couple of cables or none.
Right, or none, which some companies get yelled at for.
Yeah, totally. And so here we are today, where the vision of 97, and today where it's not even about a laptop anymore. A cell phone pretty much is all anybody needs, or a tablet. You don't need a cell phone if you've got a tablet. You don't need a computer if you got a tablet. You don't need any. You know what I mean. And you've got
I do. I don't actually own a cell phone for multiple security reasons for that very thing. And I use tablets and computers to kind of fill in that gap.
And did you have a vision as things, because we're in 2016 now? Did you have a vision back then of GPS? And not to get into our conversation prematurely, right. That's not where I'm going with this. But the ability to track, the thought of it was there. The germ of the idea was there in 97, 98, 99, right?
Yeah.
But certainly today, everything that you do, say, breathe, see, is stored, tracked, and locked down in data.
Yeah. Back in the late 90s, I kind of always envisioned it in more of the Star Trek and Jetsons world. I kind of envisioned it more, we'd have that technology, but it wouldn't be quite so scary or nefarious. And we ended up kind of in this weird mix where we're like half Star Trek, where things are working really great and we have devices in our pockets with all the information of mankind in them. But we also have a little bit of that kind of Blade Runneriness, where things are a little bit darker and there's a couple of institutions that have a little bit too much power over us because of those devices. And we're somewhere in the middle, and that bums me out a little bit.
Well, you just mentioned Blade Runner, by the way. Have you seen Arrival? Have you seen?
Not yet.
Okay, go check it out. But the director, Denis Villeneuve, as soon as he wrapped on Arrival, now he just did Sicario last year, which was great. He did the Prisoners too. But so now he's done Arrival. He wrapped on Arrival, and now he's doing the new Blade Runner. So we get Blade Runner. Yeah, 2017. I can't wait, man.
So excited.
Well, he's such a good director, and Blade Runner was done so correctly the first time around. I've seen it 100 times if I've seen it once.
And you're only human.
Well, yeah, right. Do robots dream of electric sheep? So anyway, moving on. But Blade Runner 2017 is going to be out. So, and I agree with you on that. But one of the things that still is a little rough for me to wrap my head around is GPS, navigation in a car, navigation on your cell phone. And the ability to do that is like magic. Magic.
It is kind of magic. I mean, it is amazing. And when you're doing the navigation in your car, it's not just using GPS either. A lot of times when you're driving in your car or you're walking around and you're looking at Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you're looking at, it's also pinging all the various Wi-Fi hotspots around you where they know the physical address of those hotspots. And it can kind of gauge based on what the signal strength is between you and that Wi-Fi hotspot, how far you are away. And it can kind of triangulate based on those Wi-Fi networks as well. So you have that. It also checks cell phone towers to see how far you are away from cell phone towers. So it has a ton of data. And after it triangulates it all together, it can get crazy accurate. I mean, just down to almost inches and feet. It's just amazing.
If I turn off my GPS on my phone, does that stop anything?
So if you turn off the GPS on your phone, not really. A lot of times the GPS is tied to what they just consider to be location services on the phone. And so in theory, that will make it so you can't use Google Maps very well. But really, there's still, if someone wants to know your location using your phone, they still can, based on Wi-Fi networks and cell phone towers.
When you're surfing the web, and you come across a website that says, they want to know your location, right? Do you click OK? I'll go just block, right? Just right there.
No. Oh, heavens, no. Dear Lord in heaven, no. Why never do I do that?
Why, why would they need that information? I mean, so they could send me an ad later when I'm surfing, so their product in the closest store is next to me. Is it?
Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, there's two answers to that. There's the business answer of, that way they can custom tailor the experience to your local network, to your locations. They can say, okay, there's a Jimmy John's just down the street or something like that. And they can point you to it. And that is theoretically handy and convenient, because if you're searching for Jimmy John's sandwiches, you want it to pop up the one closest to you so you know which phone number to call. I get that. The flip side of that, of course, is then they also have that data for marketing purposes, and that starts to get a little bit, in my mind, creepy. So I just always just say no. Do not give away my information.
How many times, if I get a brand new cell phone, right, brand new, and I turn it on and it's on, my new number's in, and I walk out of the phone store, and I don't change any of the settings or anything. Just in the software that is there, how many times is it sending out information about me in a day?
Oh man, constantly. I mean, it's not even a thing that can be easily measured at this point. There's so many services on, whether it's an Android phone or an iPhone, there's so many services that are sending back information that includes your location. It's just absolutely unreal. There are, for instance, if you have an Android phone, there are versions of Android that are custom tailored for security, where they've stripped out all of the Google related stuff, the Google Play Store and all the services and Google Maps and every service and application that might be doing that sort of thing, which does reduce the functionality that you can have on your phone, but it also makes it a lot more secure. But again, if you don't do that, it is reporting that information back to multiple sources via multiple avenues on an almost constant basis.
So are we talking thousands of times an hour, thousands of times a minute? I mean, what are we talking about here?
I think it's more along the lines of whenever it needs to, and whenever it needs to is probably more defined as whenever you move around, whenever you load a new app, whenever you make a network query of some kind. By that I mean launch a website or open an app that has internet connectivity in any way. But basically, and then of course there's the periodic, every 5, 10, 15 minutes it'll check for application updates, location updates, that sort of thing. So hundreds of times a day at a minimum, more likely far more than that, depending on what you're doing.
Now, to continue the setup, and then we'll pick up everything at the top of the hour. When it comes to Linux, most don't know. They It's a Windows world. It's a little bit home computers. You're not going to see as many Macs. It's a much smaller segment of the market, but people understand what Apple is about. People understand what Windows is about. But Linux actually runs the world, doesn't it?
It totally does. I mean, most servers are running Linux, and by most, I mean I think it's like 80 or 90%.
Right.
Linux runs your home router, your Wi-Fi modem, your cable set-top box, the vast majority of cell phones. The world runs on Linux.
And why? I mean, that's the obvious question. What's so special about Linux?
Honestly, it all comes down to the source code for Linux itself being available and licensed in such a way that anyone can use it. So, say Comcast wants to make a new TV set-top box, they can utilize Linux. They can look at the source code. They can know what's in it. They can know for a fact that their competitors don't have any secret back doors in there that might compromise their cool new device or their network. And it's free for them to use. So it's free in cost, and it allows them to be much more secure, much quicker. And there's thousands of developers actively working on Linux all around the world, which means that you have security patches so much faster than with most systems.
The thing that confuses me about Linux, and the reason why I didn't jump on the bandwagon years ago, was that whole open source part of it. It seemed to me like anybody out there that was, of criminal mind, right?
Yeah.
Could do what he wanted with the code.
Totally where you're going. The idea that if it's open and anyone can contribute software code, they can program, sit down and contribute some code to the project, they could theoretically put in something nefarious, right? They could put in backdoors and all sorts of creepy things, when the reality is exactly the opposite. If you have
how is that even possible? That just sounds like a bad idea.
You know what? You're right.
Is it honor glance, amongst thieves? What it
is, it's really simple. If you have, let's say, a Windows PC right next to you, and next to the Windows PC is a Linux PC. Now, the Windows PC is made by Microsoft up in Redmond. They have an army of software developers working on it. All of their code is locked down, private, proprietary, and closed. No one can see it, which means if they A, screw up, or B, put in something that you don't want them to put in, or C, allow a government agency to put in a backdoor that you don't want them to put it in, you have no way of finding that out. You have no way of knowing. But on the box to the left of it, the Linux box, because the source code is entirely available, you have thousands upon thousands of independent developers around the world, some working for major companies, some just literally sitting in their office at home, looking at the code and verifying that it is in fact free from backdoors and that it has been audited for security purposes. And the great thing about that is you can rely on it just a little bit more. It is impossible from a security and privacy perspective to fully audit a completely closed source system, because you can't tell what it's going to do. You can't tell how it's going to react to a certain situation, or if it gets a call from basically, let's say the NSA, just throwing something out, wanted to put a backdoor in Windows, right? There's no way for us to know about it until someone tells us about it. If it's they want to put a backdoor in Linux, we know about it immediately because they submitted a patch that says, here's our backdoor, and everyone can go look at it and reject it, kick it out, and it doesn't get included. So it gives you much more flexibility in terms of security.
Now, who is the Linux police then?
So there's one man, literally one man. His name is Linus Torvalds, who's the creator of Linux. He's the gatekeeper. He's the police officer that allows things into Linux. But there is literally thousands of developers that work on it and yell at him constantly. It is absolutely phenomenal. You get to watch this process, and it's all in the open too. They have what they call the kernel developer mailing list. It is an email mailing list where they talk. All of the thousands of developers talk about all of the issues, new features they'd like to add, security problems, and they yell at each other and they swear and curse at each other. And it's the most amazing thing. It's like Have you ever watched video of the United Kingdom's parliament where they just go at each other and they just start swearing at each other? It's like that, except in email form, and we can all watch what's happening. So you can see if anyone's doing anything kind of hanky and shady, it's immediately public.
Now, with that end and that kind of open source honesty and checks and balance, which for some reason has worked. I mean, it has worked. It is the backbone of the world right now, and most don't understand that. But when it comes to the way that Pokemon Go, and we're going to start to get into this now before the break, was developed, there was a dark secrecy behind that, and because it's not open, there's nobody to police the 3 or 4 or 5 bad elements that were in the background behind Pokemon Go. And that's where I'm going with all of this. There wasn't any Pokemon Go police.
That's right. I mean, there's no way we can infer a great deal. We can look at the history, we can look at relationships, we can look at some of the network traffic and try and analyze it. But it's almost impossible to know to the complete extent of what an application, a game like Pokemon Go is doing, because we don't have access to the source code.
And there isn't any way to get to it, is there?
No, none whatsoever.
And what about Google Earth and satellite? Is there a way to get to that source code?
Not really. There are elements that Google has, made public and open source, but it's usually things along the lines of, user interface libraries, the things the bits of code that are responsible for, displaying a button on the screen, that sort of thing. But the actual guts, the core of what makes these applications work, they're all closed down and locked down pretty hard.
If you were going to make a bet right now, you and I, we go to Vegas. You and I go to Vegas, and we got $100,000 cash, right? We walk in, and we go and we find a book.
Tuesday,
right? We walk in, and you wanted to place a bet on where the original source code is sitting right now for Google Earth. Where would you bet that source code is sitting?
Oh, I guarantee you there's many people that have it, but it's kind of under relative lock and key. I'm sure some of the original developers have it because honestly, programmers, even if they're not supposed to, they keep source code for things that they worked on. So it is out there. Probably John Hanke, who created Keyhole and Google Earth. I'm sure he has it somewhere, even if he says he doesn't. I'm sure there's a copy or multiple copies around Google in source control. It's just a matter of us ever seeing it in the public.
Do you think I'm talking about the original K-Locks? Yeah, the original K-Locks. Do you think they're sitting on NSA servers?
Oh, heavens, yes. If they ever had access to it, which I do not see why they wouldn't have, considering the history, then I'm sure they have it. Heck, I used to be in software development, and I have source code for so many things, going back to pre-release software that I worked on that never even saw the light of day. Software developers, they never throw away anything. It exists somewhere.
Now, with and we're going to head to a break here in 2 minutes. Do you think that there is a more complex version of that original code or the code for Google Earth that resides in the military? Or do you think that with everything that is running right now with GPS and Google Earth, that is the same stuff that we have access to? Is there a reason to take it more complex?
My guess is there is a more complex version of it, specifically because we know that they were using it. We know that the military was using what became known as Google Earth. And I am sure that they wanted the ability to tie it in with other systems that they had at the time. And since the public-facing Google Earth didn't have that sort of functionality, I'm sure that there's basically a quote-unquote custom build of it, if nothing else, that the military has. I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't have any knowledge that they do, but it would be weird if they didn't.
As as we head into the break, with your writing and when I first heard about Pokemon Go and its connections with the CIA and the NSA, and I reported on it, the next day your article came out. And I went and read it, and I felt vindicated because I ran my mouth the night before, and I just thought, man, I might have got myself in trouble. But
that was lucky.
But your article came out, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, at least I'm not going to be the only one in trouble, right?
Right.
Brian and I can go down together here, and I thank you for that. But as your research into this, did you have any idea that this kind of crazy story was part of our reality?
No, honestly, I truly didn't. I thought, sure, there's usage of our devices going on all the time. Our cell phones and people, various 3-letter acronym organizations can gain access to those cell phones. I did not think that there would be such direct connections between those organizations and the companies building the software that are supposed to not be related to the government. I did not realize that they were that closely related.
Umbilical cords, man. I mean, seriously, sharing blood. All right, let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Bryan Lunduke. And now, when we come back after the break, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the ground running on this absolutely amazing story. We've done the setup for all of you. It's a crazy world out there. How crazy for real? When I come back with Brian and we spin this web, you're going to flip. This is Fade to Black. My guest tonight, Bryan Lunduke. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Kat Deely, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Well, yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Tonight, we have tech journalist Bryan Lunduke here to talk about the ties between the CIA, NSA, Google, and Pokemon Go. Tomorrow night, Dr. Rita Louise is here. We're going to talk about her new documentary, Holy Deception. Wednesday night, author Ronnie LeBlanc is here, and his new book, Monsterland. All right, Bryan, let's what we need to do here, and I've got a bunch of questions lined up. We need to take a history lesson. We need to go to school. We need a little education here. But before we do that, I got a couple of yes or no questions for you. I just want to get out of the way. I don't want to ignore the fans out there. Are there any secure, crypto-enabled, non-tracking phones available or on the horizon? You know, NSA-resistant phones.
That's actually a really difficult question. The short answer is no, not on your life. The long answer is there are ones that are better than others, and you are not going to likely buy them in any store. What you're going to end up needing to be doing is buying certain devices, like specific versions of the Google Nexus phone, and then go out there and be able to flash your own custom ROM onto there that's focused on security. It is not for the faint of heart, and it is not terribly easy to do for most people.
I was at a hackers convention in New York with Rita a couple of months ago, and I walked in on one of the seminars, right? And it's packed. It's like 10 o'clock at night in Manhattan, packed. There's 500 people in this room, dark, all with hoodies, by the way, right? and the dude is up there giving a line-by-line update that you need to do on your phone to whatever the carrier is, to run it off of a network, right? Yeah. Off the network. And everybody's taking notes, right? And I'm standing there, and I'm looking at the audience. I'm listening to what's going on. I'm watching, and I'm looking out, and everybody is just taking notes. You know, and of course, I didn't write anything down. I was more fascinated with the silence in the room, the focus. And I thought, man, this crap really can happen. And there are people out there that will get this done. But you're right. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not. No.
Yeah, if you're a software developer, totally doable. If you're not, ask a software developer for help.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking to myself, I'm serious, too. This was the thought. Okay, I could write this down. But I have the feeling that my cell phone will never work again, right?
Yeah. And the reality is, no matter what custom software you put on your phone, it will not be secure. It still can be accessed by the NSA and other organizations, no matter what. That is just the reality of the situation that we're in. That's just the way the technology works. The only way to really make sure that your phone isn't spying on you is to pretty much just to stick it in the microwave.
Right.
That's about the only option you got.
Right. Yeah, I don't. It's really funny. I'm so paranoid. I don't write anything in my email that is of any consequence to anybody anywhere. My emails are the stupidest emails you've ever read in your life, right? There's no details. There's no pictures. There's nothing. I don't poke fun at people. I don't crack jokes. I don't mention names. I don't do nothing. I just don't. Yeah. I'm paranoid. And
it's really hard to secure email as well, by the way. If you have an email server, if you're using like email provided by your ISP or something like that, it is being indexed by multiple government agencies. It is. We know that for a fact now. It's not even like some sort of conspiracy theory that, I have because I have so much tinfoil on my head. It really is a real thing. So like even for me, because of what I do, I end up having to be in communication with a lot of people who may provide me with information that may or may not be sensitive. And so I end up having email servers all over the place. and it becomes really tricky.
Yeah, I have my own email server, have my own servers for this show, and I try to run things like that. I have nothing in the cloud. The only thing that is in the cloud that sucks, but you've got to, is my phone contacts list.
Yeah.
You know, that's it, because if I lose my phone, I need to be able to get that back. I have it backed up on the computer, but just in case, just in case. Other than that, I mean, I have nothing in the cloud, man. Nothing at all.
One of my favorite sayings is, there's no such thing as the cloud. There's just other people's computers.
Right.
And that's pretty much what the cloud is. It's just that you're not thinking about the fact that your data is on someone else's computers. And so you'd want to be careful about who runs that computer. Like, I'd be really careful about, if I have an email server, I don't host my email servers in the United States for multiple legal reasons. I host them in places like Switzerland, where basically the data extradition laws are just a little bit more convenient to my needs. And it's a very difficult thing, and it's something that most people shouldn't have to think about.
Now, all good dramas have a villain. They all do. And we're going to start here with this history lesson with our villain. And let's start there, and let's go back in time. Who's our villain?
All right. There's a couple of people you could view as the villain. I'd say the number one in this case is John Hankey. So to pull everyone back in the Wayback Machine, all the way to almost the beginning, but not quite. John Hankey's the guy that runs the company that makes Pokemon Go. He runs a company called Niantic, and he's kind of the guy that steers that ship. And he's been around for a while. And to understand how this all works, we're gonna jump way past some stuff and then come to the beginning. We're gonna do this kind of like Memento, basically.
Okay, fine.
Let's go back to John Hankey's first big company, which was called Keyhole. So you're probably, and all of your listeners are probably familiar with the old spy satellites, right? The Keyhole satellites, the ones where in the 1960s they could use these satellites to find anyone on Earth. What was that Will Smith movie from like a decade ago? Gene Hackman was in it, Enemy of the State.
Right.
They were using the Keyhole satellites to track Will Smith as he ran all over the city, and there was nowhere he could hide because the Keyhole satellites could find him. Well, John Hankey started a company called Keyhole back in 2001, I believe. And he actually named it Keyhole after those satellites, which is kind of a tip of the hat towards, this is a company that spies on you. I don't really know how else to interpret
Well, yeah, because, the definition of keyhole was looking into a room, peeking your eye into the keyhole to see what somebody was doing on the other side, hence the name.
Yes, exactly. Looking where someone else probably doesn't want you to look. A keyhole. So John Hankey started this company called Keyhole. Now, Hankey, before he started that, worked in a kind of foreign affairs position in the U.S. government. I'm not sure exactly what the foreign affairs position is. I found contradicting information a few places, so I don't know that information is fully public. But we know that he worked for a government agency in foreign affairs. But then when he started Keyhole was doing mapping stuff, satellite mapping. They were making a product that would go on later to become Google Earth. But at the time, they needed funding. And they got their funding, at least in large part, from the CIA. The CIA literally has a venture capital firm, and they call it In-Q-Tel. Now, In-Q-Tel is not part of the CIA. This actually gets a little weird. So In-Q-Tel is a nonprofit organization, almost like a charity, right? Except it's given its marching orders from the CIA. It gets all of its funding from the CIA and other defense-related organizations, all of them government. And there is actually a organization inside the CIA whose job it is to work with In-Q-Tel to make sure they're doing the right things. And what In-Q-Tel does is it goes out there, it finds tech companies like Keyhole, started by John Hankey, that create technology that could be useful to the NSA, to the CIA, to any myriad of Department of Defense agencies, right? And this makes a lot of sense from their perspective. They want to get the best technology. They want to put a lock on it right away. They want to fund it, and they want to help guide that technology to be as useful as it could be for the NSA's purposes, right?
Now, check this out. This is straight from the CIA.
Straight from the CIA.
No, I'm going to read this to everybody. In-Q-Tel is an American not-for-profit venture capital firm based in Arlington, Virginia. It invests in high-tech companies for the sole purpose of keeping the Central Intelligence Agency and other intelligence agencies equipped with the latest in information technology in support of the United States intelligence capability. Bam. Okay.
Right? It's not even secret. That's so as we go through this, as you're listening to all this stuff, everyone at home, none of this is secret. None of this is leaked information. This is all very, very public, and it's all extremely blatant and in our face. So that's kind of something to bear in mind as you're kind of thinking through all this stuff. Okay. So In-Q-Tel, it invests a whole ton of money into Keyhole, right? To kind of boost it up. Now, immediately that technology gets used during the war in Iraq. This was back after 2001, and we were going into Iraq, and they were using what became Google Earth, but was just called Earth, and I actually had another name at that point that slips my mind. But they were utilizing that within the Department of Defense during that initiative
to drop bombs.
Theoretically, I was looking around trying to find information on exactly what they used it for. And the only things that I could find reference to is that they liked how this Earth product allowed them to visualize the target area in 3 dimensions. So which is very cool. I mean, if you've ever played with Google Earth, it's a very cool piece of technology. I mean, you have to admit it looks neat. If you remember back during the news when the Iraq war was happening, that was the first time we started seeing on like CNN where they do those overview fly-in, zoom-in shots of Baghdad and the like, right?
Right.
A lot of those came from Earth, but not the version of Earth that's used by the Department of Defense. This is the publicly available version. So what exactly was in the functionality for the Department of Defense version? I have no idea. Well, as far as I can tell, we have no public information on that. So that all happens. And then Google swoops in and buys Keyhole outright. Completely. They just gobble the company up, and now Keyhole and Earth are now part of Google, and they rename Earth to Google Earth, take the founder of Keyhole, John Hanke, and put him in charge of all of the location-based services that Google was developing at the time, the Street View and all those other sorts of services. And so John Hanke becomes kind of the Google man in charge of anything that looks at visualization of locations or knowing where someone is.
Now, and at that time, in 2001, wasn't Hanke a foreign affairs employee of the State Department? Which isn't that? Aren't you a spy? I mean, what does that mean?
I'm not 100% certain. There are questions here, no doubt, that have not been answered. I've sent requests off to Google and the like, trying to get additional information on this. My requests have been politely declined. So I do not know. I don't know the details. I don't know the details of John Hanke's foreign affairs position, what he was doing. I have no idea. And as far as I can tell, we have no public information way to find out.
And as you know, officially, we got Hanke to agree to an interview with me, and we were there, man. And then I just think he did a little background work. And
did he do a quick Google search?
I think he did, man. He knew the questions I was going to ask. But okay, moving on. We were close. He said yes. And then, I think he thought he found out it wasn't going to be funny. Ha ha.
Yeah. I got to give you props, man. That is about 8 steps closer than I got. As soon as they got the emails, I'm pretty sure they looked at it and went, yeah, no, we're not talking to Lunduke.
Yeah, man. So, and we had a plane trip booked and everything done. And then they said no and then stopped returning phone calls. It was pretty funny. So anyway, okay. So moving on. So but what's interesting here and needs to be noted is that Google, by acquiring Hanke and Keyhole, effectively have acquired a CIA-funded startup. Yes. And a foreign affairs officer of the State Department are now in the employ and ownership of Google.
Yes, that is extremely important to remember. Now, and if you flash forward a couple of years, things start to get, in my mind, even funkier. Right around 2010, Niantic was formed. And Niantic is the company that makes Pokemon Go, but it was formed as sort of like a little incubator project inside of Google. And of course, John Hanke was put in charge of Niantic. And what Niantic does and did back at the time is they started creating little apps for Android phones that did location-based stuff. And to give you a real good idea of this, their first thing they created was Field Trip, which no one really used Field Trip. I mean, it really failed to take off. But it was this application where it encouraged people to pick up their phone, take it out of their pocket, hold it in front of them, and walk around within their world and look at things like stores and shopping centers and streets and addresses and houses and just kind of find stuff. You go on a field trip. Now, why this is interesting? Because it never really took off. But that's essentially the general thing of Pokemon Go as well. You take your phone out and you walk around the real world. And if you start thinking about it, if you were the CIA or the NSA, and you had these amazing surveillance devices on everyone, these cell phones that you could listen to the microphone of no matter what the person was doing, with cameras on both the front and back, with GPS and the ability to get your location down to the foot. This is amazing. But there's a couple of problems. One is that a lot of the time it's in your pocket or in your purse or in your bag, and that really renders the cameras moot, right? What are you going to do? Take a picture of the inside of someone's pocket? It's just not that interesting.
Right.
It also makes the microphone a little less usable because you're just going to get the rubbing of your jeans pocket against a microphone. And as you know, Jimmy, that's not going to sound that great. So you need to get people with their out. You need them to pull that cell phone out and hold it in front of them in what I like to call the I'm watching you pose. So you're looking at the screen, so that way the camera on the screen can see your face and the camera out the back can see whatever you're looking at, and the microphone is unhindered. That would be fantastic. That would be the dream. That is an amazing surveillance tool. And it gets even better from the CIA's perspective if you could find some way to nudge people, to control where people are at. If it's great to be able to say, I want to listen to Jimmy Church and what he's saying when he's hanging out in his living room. That's great. But what if you want to be able to surveil people who don't have the cell phones? You need to get people who do have the cell phones to that person or to that location. And so if you could find a way to do that, that would be ideal. But if the CIA calls up Jimmy Church and says, Jimmy, could you walk over to the mall, hold up your cell phone in front of you for 20 minutes or so? Could you just do that for us real quick? I mean, what are you going to tell them, right? Are you going to say, yeah, I'm going to do that for you, CIA? That sounds legit? Of course not. That's crazy. So you got to find a way to dangle a carrot. You got to make it fun. You got to make it enjoyable. And so with that in mind, these applications started coming out of Niantic to make it fun and enjoyable to walk around the world in a guided fashion where it's nudging you in the directions it wants to nudge you, with your phone in front of you, with your camera looking at your face and at the things that you're looking at, and your microphone uncovered. First one was Field Trip.
And this is what is crazy here. This is what I picture is the CIA, I'll just say it out loud, the CIA has got somebody, or the FBI, has got somebody that they know is inside of a Starbucks, but they don't have an agent there. He's across town. He's not, you know what I mean? But they go, wait a minute. We've got somebody inside of Starbucks right now with the Field Trip app. Yeah. And he's sitting in front of this guy. Let's activate activate the game. The phone, and they take out the phone and Field Trip is now activated. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to look. Oh, okay. I see. And the next thing you know, they've got this person with the phone now out and the microphone activated. And now they're surveilling whoever they need to surveil inside of a restaurant or a coffee shop. That's what's crazy.
And it's important to remember that they don't need the application to look through your webcam, to look through the camera on your phone, or to look through to listen in your microphone. They can do that already. But now what they get with these applications is exactly what you said. They get the control over where you are, and they get to encourage you to pull it out and to make that device more usable to them, to put it in the I'm watching you pose where you're holding your camera basically in front of you, looking around the world. And as Field Trip was interesting in that it did a lot of those things, but wasn't very fun. So no one used it. The second thing they came out with that Niantic created, this was when they were still part of Google, was a game called Ingress, which I actually played for a little while before I realized what it was doing. And it was a fascinating little science fiction game about alien invasion. And there was two factions. There was a government faction supporting the aliens and a government faction, rebelling against the aliens. It was a very fascinating little game. But basically it was like Pokemon Go in that you walk around the world to important locations that the game said are really critical to get at. And it put weights onto which locations were the most important, and it encouraged people to go to them, to walk around with your phone in front of you in that pose. And the game did fairly well, but not great. It didn't really catch on. And that was when it was still within Google. And then Pokemon Go happened.
Well, the germ of the idea is there. They were fine-tuning it.
They're clearly trying to get better at it.
And what would be better than to have literally millions of spies at your disposal, agents that, well, quite frankly, you don't have to pay health insurance. You don't have to pay their mileage.
Right.
You don't have to give them a CIA credit card. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to pay him a salary. You don't have to make sure that he's fed and clothed. You don't have to do any of that. And what a perfect world for the CIA and any other agency that wanted to take advantage of it than that.
Right? This is basically an NSA wet dream. It is amazing. If I were them, if I were the head of the NSA at the time, I would have been doing backflips. And in fact, we'll get to that because the gentleman in charge of NQTel at the time that invested into Keyhole, that got this all going, has received many awards from the CIA for his service.
Go ahead, drop his
specific
name.
Regard.
Yeah, drop his name.
That right there, his name is Gilman Louie, who is a fascinating individual in his own right, but we'll get to him momentarily. So 2015, Niantic, not part of Google anymore, spun out of Google. It became its own company. It then worked with Nintendo to license Pokemon for Pokemon Go. And Pokemon Go is basically similar technologically to their first two attempts at this sort of an application where you walk around the real world and look at things. Except this time they learned all their mistakes, and they licensed a franchise that is so enormously popular that they assured that they would get a mass following, which is what they lacked in the previous two iterations. So now we've got a world where people are walking around looking for Pokemon.
So, to sum things up, in a nutshell, John Hanke, Keyhole, Niantic ultimately were a CIA-funded venture that, and John Hanke was a foreign affairs employee of the State Department.
Yep.
And this CIA-funded venture that created Earth, which turned into Google Earth, is now traveled through Google. Google acquires Earth, turns that into Google Earth, which was a CIA-funded venture, and then turned into Niantic, which ultimately has CIA-funded technology as its foundation and the core of the game, and then is spun off.
Yes. And currently on the board of directors sits Gilman Louie right now of Niantic. Gilman Louie, the guy who used to be the CEO of NQTel, the CIA's venture capital firm, now is on the board of directors for Niantic.
Now, what part of wrong applies here? Right?
Holy moly, man. It's the thing that amazes me about this story is that it is both simultaneously insane. The idea that I'm going around telling people, hey, a video game is spying on you is crazy. It's a bonkers. It is the very definition of ridiculous conspiracy theory, except that 100% of it is public information that's verifiable and extraordinarily blatant. That's the most amazing part of this to me, is that anyone would look at this and think of anything other than, okay, clearly Pokemon Go is being used essentially to turn us into unwitting, unemployed, unpaid CIA operatives.
And this is what's funny with your article, my disclosure, and the stuff that we are going to do together in the future that we can't talk about right now, which is kind of fun.
That is a little funny.
It is. I have gotten zero response from the CIA and the NSA and Google outside of the hanky connection. How about you? Has nothing at all?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. I've sent in repeated requests. I've gotten nothing.
And what does that tell you? It's because it's true. That's the thing. They can't deny anything. My guest tonight is Bryan Lunduke. We are talking about the CIA, the NSA, and Pokemon Go. Now, where it goes from here, it gets more twisted. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Bryan right after this short break. Everybody stay right there.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
How you doing? This is Jimmy from Zeepa. And I want to talk to you a little bit about Black Friday and Cyber Monday. All you people that like to procrastinate, the people that like to go ahead on Black Friday the night before and they camp out waiting for that great deal. Well, hello, newsflash, the deal for Zeepa is now. The deal for Zeepa is today. We do not reward procrastination. If you want a great price on a Zeepa, go to Zeepa.com and buy now. If you're going to go ahead and procrastinate, we're going to penalize you for it. What does that mean? That means the price of all the Zeepas go up on Black Friday. And you know what happens on Cyber Monday? It goes up again. This is the last opportunity that you will have to get this great price for the Zeepa. This is the time now. You wait till Black Friday, the price is going up. Because remember, sleep is priceless. Go to Zeepa.com, that's ZYPPAH.com, and get the deal now.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Work with your doctor when taking medications. Make Protovite part of your healthy lifestyle.
HealthForLiberty.com is your source for Protovite, a powerful nutritional supplement that's a true breakthrough for your health. Poor digestion makes it nearly impossible to absorb the nutrition your body needs. Protovite is a liquid multi-nutrient formula with patent-pending absorption technology and the highest quality ingredients to nourish every cell in your body.
My name is Sandra White. 6 weeks ago, when I started taking Protovite, I was on 14 medications, from everything for blood pressure to fibromyalgia. In the first 10 days, my blood sugar dropped 50 points, and my fibromyalgia pain is gone. And so was 12 of the 14 medications that I was taking. I'm 66, living life and loving it.
Go to HealthForLiberty.com right now. That's HealthForLiberty.com.
Thank you, Protovite, for giving my life back.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Our guest tonight, tech journalist Bryan Lunduke, and we're talking about the connection between the CIA, the NSA, Google, and Pokemon Go. And this is where things get twisted. And Bryan, how does somebody get badges of honor, medals, awards, employee of the year for the CIA, right?
It's crazy. So Gilman Louie,
right.
He ran In-Q-Tel. He ran the CIA venture capital firm. He currently sits on Niantic's board of directors. But here's the crazy thing about this guy. He actually was one of the guys responsible for bringing Tetris to America. This is just, it's a very strange side note and diversion, but Gilman Louie has done some very, very odd and interesting things. But then after he brought Tetris, he licensed Tetris from a Russian developer, brought it into the United States and did well with that. And he worked on a lot of flight simulator projects. And then in the 80s, and then he left that and founded In-Q-Tel, or didn't found In-Q-Tel, but became the first CEO. And then he was never, a CIA spy. That wasn't this guy. He never ran the CIA. He simply headed up the venture capital firm. And in exchange for that, he's won 2 CIA Agency SEAL medallions for service to the intelligence community, the 2006 Director's Award by the director of the CIA, Porter Goss, for creating In-Q-Tel and working with, Keyhole. And that is absolutely amazing with me. Oh, in 2008, he won the Director of National Intelligence Medallion.
Yes. Yes.
So many awards for his work here. So clearly his work was astoundingly valuable to the CIA and to the intelligence industry. Astoundingly, so much so that they're giving him awards literally every year. He gets another medallion.
Nobody raised a red flag. No other journalist out there, nobody stepped in to say, hey, that this just smells a little funky and I want to write about it. How come this just moved on without anybody saying anything? You did, but you did in 2016. I did in 2016, but what about in 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth? Nobody said a thing.
Some people, some of the, bloggers and whatnot did bring these topics up, but none of the mainstream press, none of the major tech news sites really got into it back then. And that was absolutely a failure. I mean, this should have been just devoured so many years ago, because even before Pokemon Go, there was an issue here. The fact that Google purchased Keyhole to start with should have been about 1 million red flags and a shining red beacon atop of Mount Olympus, and it just wasn't. For some reason, people just glossed over it. It got brought up a few times by a few bloggers. It was noticed because all the information was public, but then everyone just let it go.
Now, check this out. This is former CIA Director George Tenet, right? This is a quote. We, the CIA, decided to use our limited dollars to leverage technology developed elsewhere. In 1999, we chartered In-Q-Tel. While we pay the bills, In-Q-Tel is independent of the CIA. Now, it's just, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. While we pay the bills, In-Q-Tel is independent of the CIA. It blows my mind. And then check this out. Here's another quote for you. In-Q-Tel sold 5,636 shares of Google. That they own part of Google. They had shares in Google. Yeah. Worth $2.2 million November 15, 2005. The stocks were a result of Google's acquisition of Keyhole, the CIA-funded satellite mapping software now known as Google Earth.
Yes, it is amazing. You sit down and you think, with most theories, when you have something that you consider a conspiracy theory, you have a lot of dots to connect. You sit down and you almost have to play 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon before you kind of get the whole picture. This time, it's one dot away. over and over and over again. It is just completely blatant. There is actually an organization inside the CIA, an entire office that is called the In-Q-Tel Interface Center, what they call the QIC. And the entire job of the QIC is to govern relationships, and basically to deal with In-Q-Tel and to guide In-Q-Tel. And it is absolutely astounding to even think that they're really unrelated. I think it does make sense why the CIA would have found In-Q-Tel as a nonprofit, because you can't have the CIA itself going around giving money to Google directly. That is going to cause CNN and everyone else to go, what? This is clearly a conflict of interest. But if you make it a nonprofit that is purely gets 100% of its funding and governance from us, well, then it's probably not us, so it couldn't be a problem, right? They've managed to separate it out one layer of removal, and that has just caused everyone to just stop questioning it, and that is just terribly sad.
Yeah, and this is one of the types of stories that if you've got a conspiracy theorist out there, the real tinfoil hat guy, in his trailer in Montana, that has been complaining about this stuff for years, right? And warning his friends and his family, and he lives off of the and then he finds out something like this is the kind of story that would push somebody over the edge, right straight down into the abyss of insanity. Because now all of those things that he feared are actually true. Yeah. And that's what's crazy about this story.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And it's kind of terrifying because it's so out there and it's so blatant and so public. And yet we just, as a public, don't seem to care all that much. And if this, what I would consider to be an absolutely egregious overstepping of the government is public, and yet we don't care, well, what's happening that's not public? We have situations like Yahoo, where we have the recent revelations that Yahoo had actually been working with the United States government for years, indexing and searching 100% of all Yahoo email accounts. So if you have a Yahoo email account, it has been in the NSA's possession for years without it coming out and becoming public. Once it became public, lots of backlash. This is horrible. This is awful. But it wasn't public for years. And that makes you just wonder if this is all going on right now. What exactly is not public? Google clearly has a direct tie at this point to the CIA. They have a direct financial tie. We've talked about it on the show. It's clear as day. It's really well documented. You can even follow it on Wikipedia. So what exactly is the full extent of the relationship in practicality? What information do they have access to from Google at this point? And that's something that needs to be fully understood. And there's just simply no way to fully understand it at this point. And that's terrifying to me.
Yeah. And the other part of this, and you write about this too as well, for me, if you really want to go Big Brother and you really want to go terrifying and you really want to freak out, it is AT&T and Yahoo and Apple and and Google, all of those large tech companies that collect your data are selling it back to the government for profit. It's a frigging industry.
Yeah.
And they collect your data for free, and then they turn around and sell it to all of the three-letter agencies for profit.
Yeah.
It is one of the biggest, I mean, seriously, if you really want to make some money, how about some ones and zeros that you collect for free, right? And you just store it, and then you turn around and sell that data of private citizens back to the government, and they're making money off of you, and it is now an industry. And that is one of the most frightening things to even contemplate.
It's horribly frightening. Are you familiar with the term a warrant canary?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So when looking around, do you know the website Reddit?
Yes.
So a big social media-ish website that was really founded on real democracy, pure democracy online. So people could just self-govern, and they wouldn't have any government or big corporation breathing down their neck. That was Reddit.
Founded on principle.
Yes, very much so. Aaron Swartz, a lot of very important people involved with that.
And it's still one of the most heartbreaking stories of all of tech is Aaron Swartz.
I can't get into that tonight. Let's
not go there. It bums me out.
Yeah, I don't want to get too bummed out. So,
yeah, we're already in the darkness, man.
Right. Reddit used to have a warrant canary, and a warrant canary, for those who aren't aware, is basically a simple idea. If you have a company and you receive a warrant from the United States government, let's say you get a national security letter, something from the NSA that says you need to turn over all the documents in your database, or every email about Jimmy Church, something along those lines. Well, usually those are accompanied by a gag order that says you can't tell anyone about this. What a warrant canary does is it kind of sort of pseudo skirts that. So some companies like Reddit, who have been traditionally a little bit, wary of the government, would put up a yearly or quarterly security report, and they'd say, hey, we got attempted number of hacks this year, but we fought them all off and did a great job, something like that. And at the bottom, they'd say, and we haven't gotten any warrants or national security letters. Well, they'd keep publishing that every year. And then when they do get one, they simply delete that last little line that said they'd never gotten one. So normally you're not allowed to say when you've gotten a national security letter or not, but this kind of gets around it in this sort of gray area that basically tells your followers, the NSA just asked us for a bunch of data without actually having to say that. Well, Reddit this last year removed their little warrant canary, and less and less companies are having those little warrant canaries. They're disappearing all over the place. Google doesn't have a warrant canary. Yahoo certainly doesn't have a warrant canary. It's getting to the point now where we know, without knowing for a fact, we do kind of know that all of the data is either being requested by the NSA or handed over to the NSA or similar 3-letter acronym agencies. And that includes Google, and that is absolutely terrifying.
Well, I know the answer to this. I just want to hear you say it out loud. Is there anybody in the United States of any age that does not have a database now?
No. Oh, heavens, no. I mean, I have a 1-year-old son, and there's at least some information on him out there, which is absolutely sickening.
Yeah. Everybody, it's kind of funny. No, man, I don't have an email. They don't know anything about me. Dude.
They do. They absolutely do.
Just stop with that. All right. Now let's move on to the more frightening aspects of what is the end game here. You go and download Pokemon Go, right? Yeah. Now, let's go to day one of the game's release. We'll start there because things have changed a little bit. But let's go to day one. You download, you attempt to download Pokemon Go. What do they get from you by just attempting to install the game?
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. All right, so the game itself. So let's say you're downloading it onto your phone. Before you can install it, or at first run, depending on the version of the operating system you're running, at the time of release, you had to grant it full access to all of your contacts, your location, every file on your phone. So if you took pictures,
what do you mean when you say
every single file? So if you had, including basically what's considered to be USB storage. So if you have, or even like an SD card, if you have a little SD card in your phone filled with documents or spreadsheets or what have you, access to all of them, and not just access, the ability to read them, modify them, and delete them. Full, complete, and total access. Now that's changed a little bit. And full access to the microphone, cameras, everything. It can even control the vibration of the phone, but that's not exactly the most scary of these things.
Right.
It gave them access to literally everything. It's been updated a little bit since then. The game itself doesn't have inherent access to the cameras. You have to enable it. But what they've done is they've made it so enticing to enable it that you simply do. Pokemon Go has this augmented reality feature where you can look around in your real world and see little 3D Pokemons basically inside the real world, which looks really cool. It's a cool piece of technology.
Yes, it is.
It's really neat.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So just to be clear, your identity is completely been accessed right?
Yeah.
All of your accounts on the phone have been accessed. Your contacts, anybody that is in your phone, they had access to.
Yes,
they had
everything.
access to your location.
The websites you've been to, the cookies from the website. So every time you go to a website, a lot of websites will download these little things called cookies, which is basically a way of storing some sort of unique data to you. Maybe it's your login username. Maybe it's your settings for that website, something, the last time you accessed it. They have access to all of it.
Now, modifying or deleting your files or contents, not only on the device itself, but with USB storage, why would anybody need that kind of access?
Oh, it's so delightful. So let's say, for example, to give a real world example, you're out in the world, you're playing Pokemon Go. You've given them full access to everything. This was on day one. It's changed a little bit since then, but not too much. You're on day one. You're looking around at a park, and they want to fundamentally alter what's happening on your phone by having that full access to all the various other applications. Not only can they get at that data, but they can go in and screw things up for you. So let's say you are a target. Let's say for some reason Jimmy Church is a guy we just want to isolate. He's at a park right now. Let's isolate the heck out of him. They go into your phone. They know you're playing Pokemon Go. So they just go in there and screw up all your contacts so that the phone numbers and the email addresses are all incorrect, thus making it so it's much harder for you to contact anyone for help, for example. Wow. I mean, that's a very nefarious, example. But the reality is, if you're the NSA or the CIA, you want as much power as possible because you don't know how you're going to need to use it. You want to have complete and total flexibility, and that's what this gave them. This went above and beyond simply accessing, your location, your microphone, and your cameras, which are great, but it gave you full access to your entire computing experience, and that's extreme.
Now, let's say, okay, I'm going dark here. Let's say you're not liked, whatever it is, man. You're whistleblowing. You've done something. You broke from the company. Whatever it is, right? And you're going, okay, man, but I'm running clean here. I'm running clean. And the next thing you know, as they, throw a black bag over your head and skirt you out, that suddenly on your phone you have emails that you haven't written, right? You have pictures that you didn't take. You have files there that had nothing to do with you. But it's all there, and now it's used as evidence for them to say, hey, you did this, and this, and you've got child porn, you've got, you've got ISIS connections, you've been inquiring about trips to Afghanistan, and you're checking.
You've got it all on your phone. There's proof right there. They
exactly.
Can even set the date that those files were modified, so it looks like they were modified earlier than like when they picked it up. So it doesn't just look like, oh, they all just came about like just today at 2 p.m. They've been there for months and years.
They wouldn't do that, would they?
No. Have you ever seen the movie Deep Web?
Yes.
All right.
Man.
So Deep Web, for anyone who hasn't seen this movie, it was directed by Alex Winters, who is one of the members of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but an excellent director. But it's about the Deep Web and about Tor and a lot of things. But in it, they get into talking about basically busting pedophile rings in the deep web. And in doing so, the government actually, the FBI actually creates child porn. So in that, they actually create their own child pornography and plant it on people's machines. It is a way of, basic. I don't know if you call it entrapment. I don't know exactly what you call that, but it's kind of a horrifying idea. So the notion that the government wouldn't do something like that is crazy, because we actually do know that they've done that already in the past, and I don't see why they would stop. And now that they have additional power and full control over people's cell phones, basically, I don't know what would stop them.
Now, and the other stuff that they were that you gave them access to, which is it's crazy to me, is now all of your Bluetooth and network devices.
Oh, yeah. You give them access to everything. And basically, you also give them the ability to send data from the internet to your phone. So you basically say you can do whatever you want. They can see your network connections, what you're connected currently to. They can actually access and utilize. Well, this has changed a little bit in more recent months, but they actually initially gave full access to the ability to use your Google account. So they could basically spoof and pretend to be you.
They could
online.
send and receive email.
The whole thing. Everything.
All of the accounts on the device, they could act as you, and you would not know it, right?
Yeah. No, you would not know it, and that you would never even have to see that it occurred.
Oh man, all of your network connections. So now you're at home, and everything that is in your home network, they have access to that you think is private and secure.
I'm so glad you hit on that, because that is an absolutely critical piece. In theory, even if you have a secure home network, you've got a nice password set up on it, it's using good, strong encryption, wonderful, great. You've got a good, secure Wi-Fi network. Well, if your phone has access to that network, now they do too. And that is a big problem.
That is nuts to me. And
it's not just that there's an agency out there that has that power. It's that functionality exists. Because even if, let's assume for a second that the CIA, the NSA, and all the other agencies are amazing, that they never do anything to hurt us, that they would always act in Jimmy Church's best interest, and they would never access that information themselves. It's just an accident that they have that sort of functionality. If we assume that all that is true, the problem is the access is still there, which makes it astoundingly easier for someone else to gain access to it. All of these access points that have been put into your device, into a phone, Pokemon Go, the already existing ability to get at to the microphone, etc. All of those access points, every single one that gets added adds an additional layer that you cannot protect yourself fully from. It's an additional access point for someone who wants to try and break into your system. And maybe they're pretty secure. Maybe they're well encrypted. Maybe they use strong passwords and hashes. But just the same, the more access points you have, the less safe you are. It's like if you have a house and you have one door on your house. Well, even better, let's say you have Cheyenne Mountain. Right. One access point going in and out.
Right.
Big, thick foot steel doors. It's hard to get into Cheyenne Mountain because of that specific reason. Now, let's say you've got a Rambler just down the street from here in Portland, Oregon here with 5 doors and 20 windows. It's much easier to break into that Rambler in Portland, Oregon than it is into Cheyenne Mountain, specifically because there's more access points. There's more opportunities for something to accidentally not get locked or for something to easily be jimmied off the hinges. More access points equals less secure. That's simply just the way that sort of security works. And the fact that these were put in there was a huge security problem, even if there was no malicious intent.
Now, so I did my show on this, and then you came out with your piece nearly simultaneously. A couple of days later, right after you and I did our Goodwill mission, Niantic announces, it was a mistake, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's called beta testing. And with all of the testing on a game like this, with this kind of money that is involved, and it is as big of Nintendo, right? We're talking large dollars and a big release. That no beta testing caught any of this, and it just slipped between the cracks. Are you buying that story?
Oh my heavens, no! So in my past life. So I was a software developer, and I eventually moved up the ranks, became a manager. And before I became a journalist, I had nice, fancy titles, really, really pretentious titles like vice president of technology and things like that. And I presided over video game companies. That's what I did. And mistakes happen. Mistakes always happen. Games get shipped with so many bugs, it's unreal. However, this particular issue, no. Not a chance would this happen, because software developers are the most anal about permissions on their device people of anyone on the planet. Guaranteed every software tester and developer noticed it and was annoyed by this. Guaranteed. Because if I had been running a team, and I've run many game teams in my life, that had shipped something with this permissive of options, the ability to get at all of your USB storage, that is crazy. Every developer I employed would have revolted against me and yelled at me. It just would have happened, and rightly so. So to think that this was a mistake is just asinine.
Now, and the only reason why it got changed is because they were caught.
Yeah, we raised a stink. We wrote articles about it. I wrote this. You did your show. I think my article got someone over at ZDNet to pick it up and run with it for a little while, and so they got their hands slapped, and so they dialed it back. So they made some of the functionality of accessing like your camera and whatnot optional. And that's the right thing to do. I mean, for any sort of gamer application, you should only access the hardware and the device resources, the files, etc., that your game absolutely needs access to. It still has way too much access to your system right now. And even with them dialing back the access, all the problems that you and I have talked about so far still exist. They're still there, and it's still a problem.
Now, we're going to take a break right here. When we come back, let's talk about all those agents that are out there now that are playing the game, how it is done, what happens, and why they would be accessed. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Bryan Lunduke. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Did you know 40% of all cancer could be prevented? That's a fact. Along with maintaining appropriate body weight and regular exercise, the American Institute for Cancer Research and the USDA confirm that eating 9 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables every day is the key. Now ask yourself, am I at risk? How many servings of fruits and vegetables did I eat today? Balance of Nature has solved this problem and provides an easy and affordable way to consume over 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables every day.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code TSL.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store. So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Bryan Lunduke. And I want to remind everybody that this Friday and Saturday, I'll be over hosting Coast to Coast AM, sitting in for George Norrie this Friday night. And my guest will be Bryan Lunduke. And we're going to continue to take this important message nationwide. We're doing our best to make sure that some CIA black-suited dudes start following Bryan around Portland, and Bryan, I'm doing my best, man. When you start seeing those black SUVs, right, you could just blame it all on me. But so we're going to do that this Friday on Coast to Coast, and then we're going to do some open lines too as well. So we're going to have, Bryan, I just think that this message is too important. Most people think that it's just a game. And I got to say, if you really want to hide in plain sight, this is how you would do it.
It's so perfect. You'd almost say it's brilliant if it weren't such an obvious choice to start with.
Yes, totally. Now, I mean, it's you and I were talking about this last month, and it's really funny. But I can just picture Hanky, right, and Louis Gilman. Gilman Louis sitting in a boardroom somewhere, pitching this kind of thing, pitching it, right?
Yeah.
And somebody going, "Hey, man, this could work. Let's do it in a video game. We could do it." And then it makes perfect. Yeah, you know what, guys, we're gonna run with this. Let's get the funding to get. You know what? I'm serious.
It's almost like the kind of thing you'd win multiple awards and medallions from the CIA for coming up with.
You would think. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute, right? So now this is now let's take it to the next level. Without giving too much away, and I need to ask for your sensibilities here in privacy. Sure. Because of what you and I are working on. So we can't discuss that. But you and I did some interviews, and we went out and actually talked to some Pokemon players. And one of the questions that you and I posed to them was, if we were to reveal that this was a CIA-funded game, would it matter to you? And I'll let you. I mean, what was the universal answer that we got from all of the players?
They wouldn't care.
They didn't
keep
care.
Playing it.
Didn't care.
They love this game. And I can't. Here's the thing. This game is great. It's a fun little game. It gets people outside of the house. It gets them walking around in the sunshine or the pouring rain if you're in Portland right now like me. But it gets them outside. It gets them walking around and interacting with other human beings. It gets them talking to people. There's so much potential goodness there with this sort of game that you don't want it to be bad. You don't want it to do bad things to you, which is why it's the perfect place to have this sort of thing.
And what was amazing to me was but I've made friends.
Yeah.
My friends play this game and we have fun. Yeah. Okay. The innocence, and I thought that there was going to be a tech savvy side, a nerd side to them that would go, "What? CIA? Dude, no way. Go." screw the man.
Right?
Oh, no, what? No, we got the exact opposite. It was like, oh, man, my friends, and we get out, and we've got our groups, and we get out, and we have fun, and yeah, so what? Who? The CIA? I don't care. Right? I was blown away that the perfect machine was in play here. That's what it said to me. I was like, dude, they've got it. They've won. The man has won.
Right? They know how to do this now. I mean, which is great because, eventually people will get bored of Pokemon Go, right? It's going to taper off and it will get less and less used. But now they know the formula. They know how to do this. They know they need to go out and license a new franchise. They know they know the types of functionality to do. And I'm sure they can even improve on it in the next game that comes out. But they just got to keep this sort of thing going and they're going to be doing fantastic.
Now, what about? I'm going to cut you off there because what about crazy locations? And I'm talking about outside of an FBI building or a CIA safe house in Istanbul, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is a global game. Do they play it in North Korea? I've heard rumors that they do. I did. I
have no information about whether they played in North Korea.
No, I heard that there is a city in North Korea that they have not been able to shut the game down in. Huh. Yeah, I'm not kidding about that. Okay, so but what about that? Is there any locations that are like off limits in this game? Pretty much no.
Pretty much no. I mean, it's whatever the people want at the time, and by the people, I mean the people running the game. I mean, it's up to Niantic to move. They call them these little gyms, is what they call them. So you can play the game anywhere, and you can kind of guide people to anywhere. And then if you really want people to go there in mass, you have a gym at a particular location, and that's basically where all the real action happens. And you can have those at the White House outside the Pentagon. You can have them wherever Niantic wants it at the time. Now they can theoretically make it so that certain areas are off limits, but really, as a general rule of thumb, they're not doing that.
What about the Kremlin? What about inside the White House? What about I heard that the Kremlin had the game shut down inside of the Kremlin, which is kind of a crazy thought. But
it is kind of a crazy thought.
But what about those? What about Buckingham Palace, or I could keep going on. Versailles, I don't know.
The hard part is if you're the Kremlin and you want to shut it down, it's really hard. I mean, this is a hard thing technologically to shut off because if you allow phones into a location and there's any possibility of data service, so your cellular data, some sort of Wi-Fi, etc., being active, it's going to work. I mean, you can theoretically, if you have a Wi-Fi hotspot, let's say you have Kremlin Wi-Fi, which I love the idea of.
Right.
They can block traffic to and from the Pokemon Go servers, which would theoretically make it not work anymore. But as long as you can get some sort of external data access, they can't really block it.
Now, this is what is crazy. So they know now, they have the ability of not only the obvious where you are, but they know where you have been.
Yeah.
They know how you got from A to B. They know the route that you took, the sidewalks that you walked, or the cars that you drove. They know this. They know the timing of all of this, how to get to point A to point B. All of this would be the most craziest, invaluable information for the CIA. It makes absolute perfect, perfect sense. And then what you were seeing on this route, isn't this darkness of its purest definition? I mean, the dark underworld of the CIA, man, of spies and agencies. This is exactly the data that they need to collect, and we are doing it for them.
Yeah, it is absolutely terrifying to me. And there's the thing. Technically, I have to do the whole journalism thing here. I have no evidence that they're using this, but I can't imagine a universe where they wouldn't. I can't imagine a universe where this would exist in the way that it exists without being for the purpose of all those dark things that you just alluded to. I can't figure that out. I can't figure out where this would be not a big deal. The CIA put money into it. They want something out of it. The CIA has someone who they keep giving awards to on the board of directors for it. They want to be driving this. The question I think people need to be asking is exactly to what end? And I think the answer is fairly obvious. But again, because of journalistic integrity and all that, I can't say for sure because I don't have evidence of how it's exactly being used.
How would anybody know, and I'm talking about a foreign government, right, outside of their embassy or a secure location, whatever it may be, how do you know now who is working for the CIA and who isn't, right? Because you wouldn't know. And if anybody is out front playing Pokemon Go outside of your safe house where you know, whatever.
It's not a safe house anymore.
No, it's not, right? You don't know who's working for the man or not.
You know, it's so I don't have a cell phone for the pure reason of what I do for a living. I need to be reasonably secure about my communications. And even then, if I walk outside my house here on a nice sunny Saturday afternoon, I will invariably run across many, many people on my way to whatever burger joint I'm going to that have their cell phones out, oftentimes playing this game, but sometimes doing something else. The microphones on those cell phones pick up conversations from, you know, more than just a couple feet away, which means if you get enough people in an area playing Pokemon Go, you can effectively have, you know, maybe not 100% audio coverage, but really close to it, which means that any conversation I'm having, even if I have no electronics on me at all, are no longer secure. And that doesn't even to bring into play the possible usage of the camera if people are playing Pokemon Go or things like it with their camera out in front of them in I'm looking at you pose. If you've got, let's say you've got a park. If you've got a square park and you've only got 4 people in that park playing a game like Pokemon Go, holding the camera out in front of them, depending on where you have them in the park and which direction you have them looking, which is something that Pokemon Go can guide people to do.
Right.
You can get almost 100% visual coverage of every angle of that park. So there's no tree you could even hide behind. And that is terrifying to me. And there's so many people out there that are very law-abiding people, but that need to know that at least on some occasions they can have a certain level of anonymity, whether they be whistleblowers or just are simply trying to deal with a personal matter. And in today's day and age, with this sort of system in place, that becomes almost impossible.
Yeah, forget about CC, you know, closed circuit cameras or public
nothing.
Cameras or, you know, traffic signal cameras and traffic cams. That's nothing compared to this.
Yeah.
And if they need to go and cover an area, like you said, it could be a park, could be a shopping mall, could be an area in a city or not. But if they need to cover it, boom, call it up. Okay, we've got 8 people playing Pokemon Go. Let's just see what they're looking at right now. You're absolutely right. They can cover just about any area of any country, any state in the world.
When I wrote the very first article I wrote on this, which was back in, I think it was July, I sent it off to my editor. It hadn't been published yet. I sent it off to her and then immediately like, okay, time to go get some lunch. I walk out my front door, walk around the corner, and there is this adorable dad and daughter combo, right? You know, the daughter was probably, I'd say 8 years old, and the dad was clearly a nerdy guy, and they were walking along and they were clearly playing Pokemon Go. They had their phones out in front of them and they were walking along towards me with both cameras pointed at me playing it. And you have this surreal moment where you realize this is impossible to avoid. Adorable that people are playing together. I love seeing families play together. I just wish they did it without becoming, you know, members of the surveillance apparatus. That would be ideal to me.
Now, the other frightening aspect of this, if they can access networks, and somebody is walking down a street past homes or apartment buildings, they are walking past Wi-Fi networks that could potentially be secure, and could they access anybody's home?
Somewhat. So let's go back. Let's go back a little bit to get a little background on this. So Google Street View. Everyone's kind of familiar with that. It's the part of Google Maps that, allows you to pretend like you're walking around a street and kind of look at what each of the house looks like as if you were kind of in a first-person three-dimensional look. It's a very cool feature, right? They have all those cars. Google has those. They call them the Google Street View cars, the Google Fleet. These cars with big cameras on it, and they drive around and take pictures of everything so that they can do that functionality. Totally makes sense. Well, I believe it was 2006 or 2007, it came out that for some reason, all those Google Street View cars were driving around and sniffing data off of the unsecured Wi-Fi networks. And basically what that means is this. When the car was going by, let's say, your house, if it was within range of your Wi-Fi network, which a lot of times it would be, especially if it was right in front, it would now see it. And any data that you were sending to and from it, it would grab. It would grab it and it would store it and keep moving. Now, Google got caught doing this. They got caught doing this and they said, oh, man, my bad. This was, just something we were putzing with. This was one guy. One guy was putzing with this like years ago. I don't even know how this crazy functionality ended up on all our cars. That's so weird. And no one really bought that story. It was a crazy story. I mean, of course, of course they put that functionality in there. It's just the question is why. Now, here's what they could get at. They could get at what websites you were going to, contents of emails that you were sending and receiving, instant messaging, what was on your Facebook page, because all that data would be sent back and forth. All of the data, even like your online banking data would be sent over that. So Google has already done that. And by the way, it should be noted, the person that oversaw that team was John Hankey, the CEO of Niantic currently and the former founder of Keyhole.
I'm not buying it.
Who
no,
would?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Now, what and this is where's all the data? Now, let's go that it was like a 5 or 6 day period where it was open season, right? It was the bull run in Pamplona, where they absolutely captured everything. Where is that data? Did they come out and say, hey, we've deleted everything?
I don't believe the statement they made was a very short one, and I have to look it up, but it was a very short single paragraph. I don't believe they stated anything about, how they were destroying the data or anything like that. But here's the thing with data like that. It never really dies. You can try and destroy your data, but if the recent round of leaks from various politicians' emails is any lesson to the world, it's that you can try and delete data, but it doesn't go away. So even if Google got that data and said, oh, hey, let's just go ahead and delete that real quick. I just drag that sucker to the trash, click, boom, empty trash. Okay, sorry about that, my bad. It's really not gone, because the reality is those Google Street View cars, they were grabbing the data, they were storing the data, then they were uploading the data to Google servers. So now at this point, they're already on at least 2 separate locations, one in the car and one in the servers back at Google's server farm.
Right.
And that's assuming no one else grabbed it, no one else had access to it, and that it didn't get backed up in any way.
Now, the Pokemon Go imaging of faces and people. What about that in the form of not only data mining but facial recognition software, and now everybody's in a national database, which probably everybody is now at this point anyway.
Yeah.
But we have that aspect too as well. What happens with that?
Now, I think with Pokemon Go, inherently there's no reason to believe that the functionality of Pokemon Go is in and of itself adding additional data to facial recognition databases. But when you are distinctly looking at people all day long, that has the ability to send that data back. We don't know if it is. We don't know if it isn't. We just know that we've got cameras pulled out, pointed at people's faces 24/7. And so we know that Google and Microsoft and many other companies have spent a lot of time and a lot of money working on facial recognition technology. We know that they store a lot of data, and we know that the U.S. government's involved in a lot of that. Where that goes and what exactly that does, well, that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother series of guesses, basically.
Yeah, certainly. And what's your take on the legal side of this? It sniffs of criminality. It sniffs of conspiracy, and it sniffs of invasion of privacy on so many different levels. What's your take on that about the criminality side?
I would tend to agree. The problem comes down to, in order to show that it's criminal, there's a lot of things that we have to show. We have to show that that was their intent, that their intent was to violate your privacy. We've got to show that there's some damage there in some way. And in order to show that damage, we need access to their servers. We need to know what data that they are actually specifically collecting, how it is stored, and how it is linked to our personal information. And we know they have all that information. We know, because Google knows if you have a Google service and you use Gmail or these various other Google services, they have all that information. It's how is it linked together and what is it being used for? And unless we are given free and unfettered access to their servers to look through all their data, which we never will be, it is really hard, if not impossible, to prove criminality. And that is crummy.
Is there, and I kind of want to close on here because this will be a future show with you and I, but has Google turned into a living, breathing machine? Is the artificial intelligence now, because it is such a global thing? I need to take this question and get it shorter. But its ties with Google Earth, Google Satellite, Google itself, and searches, and your personality, and everything else. Is it now just a global, living, breathing machine?
That's a huge question. I'll leave it with this. Two things. One, what information doesn't Google have? And think about that really in your own life. What information does Google distinctly not have? And so the answer is going to be a very short list. And two, do you remember Google's old slogan, do no evil? Or,
right.
Sorry, don't be evil.
Yeah, don't be evil. Right.
You'll notice they stopped saying that.
So, because the amount of data that they have is crazy. I don't have any idea how many servers and server farms are involved here. And
one or two.
Right?
Yeah.
It is so huge that, but the ability to now understand personalities and choices and consciousness, right? And to tailor that into something that is now thinking ahead of you, right? And actually controlling. When you think, you honestly think that you are yourself now, and they have the ability to steer you in different, and you don't even know it, right? Yeah. That's the crazy part.
You look at all those post-apocalyptic storylines about a government or a corporation that is in everything, that has access to everything. That's really at the point where Google is now. I've even been doing an article series I call Down the Rabbit Hole, where I try and find a way to live in a secure and private way without Google services, without all these sorts of things. And it is astoundingly difficult. And the more you try and peel away the layers of access that Google has into your daily life, the more you realize that they have access in ways that you didn't even realize before. And it is absolutely disturbing and kind of almost world shattering the more you realize that they have access to, because it's literally just about everything.
Somebody just tweeted, Deuce Guy just tweeted, Jimmy, are you and Brian brainstorming for a screenplay of an episode of Black Mirror? Have you been watching Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Is that on point or what?
Solid, right?
Oh man,
solid.
I mean, it's just, and it is so it is so creative and so nightmarish and so true, all at the same time. I mean, it is not a lie, right? It is not fiction.
It is not the cake.
No, and I watch it and. I know that this is our world. I know that this is not the future. You know, you watch Black Mirror, and this is not 40 years on down the road. This is today.
No, heavens no. Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's either now or, a year or two from now.
Oh, I was going to say weeks. Yeah. Okay. You're being
weeks.
kind.
Yeah. It's sometime in mid-December.
Yeah, totally. Hey, okay, so I want to thank you right now for coming on tonight, and it was just an amazing conversation. What are you working on now, and what are you writing?
Right now, honestly, I'm doing a lot more around what I call my rabbit hole series of trying to make your life secure. I'm trying to figure out how to move around in the world without being surveilled and watched. That's my current endeavor. Is I have an article going on about how to exist and get from point A to point B without being surveilled and documented, which is as much more challenging feat than it sounds like.
It's impossible. It's
hard.
I mean, I would say it's impossible. But if anybody's going to get a workaround, it's you. Thank you, Bryan. And again, your website is lunduke.com. It's a great look, everybody. Your Creative Commons side of things, I think, is commendable. And I want everybody to understand really quick. Bryan is out there trying to go broke. And so go and support Bryan. Go to lunduke.com. Support what he is doing. Support his writing. Support his videos. He's got a little hat that you can tip jar into, and go and do that, because there are very few people out there doing what Bryan is doing, and my hat's off to you. Thank you so much, Bryan, for everything that you do. All right, man. Bryan Lunduke, everybody. Lunduke.com. Follow Bryan on Twitter, Bryan Lunduke, at Bryan Lunduke. Bryan, be safe out there, and watch out for those black SUVs in the morning.
I'll do my best, man.
Bryan Lunduke. Thank you, Bryan.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Bryan Lunduke. Do go to lunduke.com, LUNDUKE.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Click, go over, support. And you can follow him on Twitter, at Bryan Lunduke. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'm going to open up the phone lines next. 323-825-5045. Thank you, Bryan. Great stuff.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Twitter on fire tonight, by the way. And the chat rooms, too. What a great conversation with Bryan Lunduke. And email is jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. The thing is, when I talk about, often enough, when I talk about the man watching you, you need to really stop and take notice, because the thought of a game like this and somebody coming up to you and going, hey, man, Pokemon Go, they're watching you and they know where you are and you're taking pictures of people and they have access. And you're like, man, that's conspiracy stuff. I'm not buying into that. And and you turn around and back it up with this stuff, with John Hankey and Gilman Louie and In-Q-Tel and CIA money from the word go, backing all of this and developing the technology. And that technology winds its way through not only Google, but Google frigging Earth. Right? And you need to stop and take note. This is where I don't want anybody to go off the deep end and go, oh, man, it's all true. It's all true. No, that's not the point here. You need to just stop and take notice about what is actually going on. This is reality. And if that part of it inside of an innocent game, which I have played, I have checked it out. I got to tell you, when your avatar is on the screen, right, and you're in the real world, and you're watching this on your phone, and you take a step backwards, and I tried to make the steps really small, 6 inches, 8, and that thing is walking backwards and forwards to these microscopic movements, and you turn, and it's turning. It's crazy. And you are looking at cars driving by. You're looking at the street. You're looking at a building. It's all right there. It is the perfect surveillance tool beyond description. And it's reality, man. This is evil at its finest. And the people that are playing the game don't care. Don't care. Somebody 5 years old, 6 years old, 8, they certainly don't care. They don't know. Somebody that's 20, 30, 40 years old running around playing that game, they don't care. Outside and inside of the United States is one thing. One of the points that I didn't bring up with Bryan. By the way, if you're on hold, stay right there. I'll get to you in just a second. Just stay right there. The CIA cannot operate inside of the United States. They can't. They can with this game, though. Think about that. The CIA is funding something like that. It's supposed to be outside of the country. No. This is operating here in the now. In the now. FBI. Do they need a warrant? They can operate inside the United States. Do they need a warrant now to go drop in on somebody's conversation? They can do it. right now. I had posted earlier in Twitter, one of my computers here, which never does anything, it's stable as the world, at about 8:15 in the middle of the conversation with Bryan, restarted 3 times. 3 times on its own. I immediately, I've got 2 webcams in here. I turned them both away from me, and I put tape on one of the laptops, which I've never done before. But I just started feeling weird all of a sudden. I was just like, man, what is going on? Stuff is clicking, and the show never stopped. Never had any, there was nothing funky, but the computers were acting weird. So I turned the cameras away from me because I didn't know if they were on. And I put tape on the laptop, which is going to stay there from here on out. Don't care. I was feeling a bit weird, but no warrants needed. That's the other aspect of this. No warrants needed. Think about that. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hi.
It's Fran.
Hey, Fran. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, great show.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
I've been telling people this stuff for years, and everybody thought I was nuts.
Do you put tape on your laptop?
If I had a laptop anymore. No, on my iMac, I've had tape on my iSight for probably the last 5 or 6 years.
Very smart. Very smart.
I don't use it at all. And people go, why don't you ever Skype? And I'm like, are you nuts?
Do you?
I don't want to be on the video where anybody can watch.
Do you? Did you play Pokemon Go?
No, I don't even have a smartphone anymore.
Did you know anybody that played the game?
Yes, a friend of mine's daughter, who's in her mid-20s, she was playing in Central California, or kind of Northern California.
Right.
Lodi.
Right. Right.
And her dad even told her, he told her, do you know about what that game does? And she goes, oh, I don't care. It's a great game, just like what people were telling you. You know, her friends and her get together and they go places and they play. And I was like, well, you know, if it's fun, it's fun, and they don't care.
No, that they would never. Nobody that plays that game would be fazed by it. They would not care, and that's part of the psychological side of the game that I find so interesting. It was completely addicting, and not only was it addicting, but I think the first day and the second day. I think the number was crazy. It was like 25 or 50 million downloads.
Right.
That's 50 million players, 50 million cameras, 50 million microphones, 50 million locations, 50 million of everything on the second day. Right?
Yep.
And I don't know what the numbers are now. I looked at them last week and the week before. I think the official Pokemon Go numbers are around 250 million players and growing. The game has not slowed down.
Oh, good grief!
Yeah, it's a frightening thing, and it's perfect beyond description. It is absolutely perfect, and I want everybody to understand when I say something like, these minds that get together and discuss ways to surveil and to do this kind of stuff, right? Intelligence and the collection of intelligence. And they sit around and they try to figure out new ways to get it done. The spy game is not over. The collection of intelligence is not over. It is gone to another level. And to turn around and to see the development of this that went on for the last 15 years, going back to 2001, and with Gilman Louie and John Hankey and their ties to not only the CIA, but the intelligence community and Washington and the IT community and what they have done and put together, is crazy. This technology was used in the Iraq War. And this very same technology is what is driving Pokemon Go. I am not making this up, people. I know it sounds like it's a crazy story and a crazy book and a crazy movie, but it is not. This is real.
Not even. I even have a friend in the Midwest who plays that Ingress game.
Yes.
With his son. And now I have to find him through the computer. I think I have his email somewhere, and send him a copy of Bryan's story.
Yeah, you should. You should.
If he knew what that was, he would not be using it.
I never played that game. I had read about it, and I thought, man, that's cool. Aliens.
Yeah.
You know. So it's still one of my favorite games ever was Destroy All Humans. And in that game, one of the things that I found pretty cool and strange at the same time was San Francisco. And so you're able to fly over San Francisco in a flying saucer and kill humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or you could be the human being chased. Anyway, it was a fascinating part of the game, and I just thought, man, this is just too real. You know, it's just too real. All right, let me get to some more phone calls, Fran. Thank you so much, and tell your friend to listen to this show that we broadcasted tonight. All right, Fran.
All right.
Behave.
Uh-huh. Good night, Jimmy.
Good night. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, Jimmy. It's Bev.
Hey, Bev. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. How you doing?
Are you playing Pokemon Go?
No.
Okay.
I see no sense in it.
Are you taping all of your cameras? Do you have tape over your cameras and your smart TV?
We don't have smart TVs, or we can't do Skype on our laptops.
Okay, so you're halfway.
I think Bob can on his.
Okay, well, you're halfway in the clear. Halfway. They still know where you are, Bev.
Oh, I know. I mean, they monitor phone calls.
Oh, of course they do. Fascinating show tonight. Did you learn anything from Bryan?
Boy, I did. Shoot.
Yeah.
I can't get over it. I mean, I never thought of all the ways that they can monitor you.
Oh, yeah, they can. They can. Hey,
and, you know, John Porter brought up something that is scary, and I think it could happen. He had tweeted, can some, I won't say the word, but can some child molester hack the game and lead kids away somewhere else?
Oh, there's all kinds of reports of that that went down initially with the game. Yeah, it was pretty sad. So
it's scary.
It is scary, Bev. It is, and you know,
kids
with
aren't even safe.
Yeah, with a game like that, there's going to be some creep out there doing bad stuff. Thank you for the phone call, Bev, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Dr. Rita Louise is going to be here. You don't want to miss that show.
Okay.
Have a great night.
I'll be there.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Jimmy.
Yes.
This is Ken, that guy from Irvine. I just wanted to, we're talking about the paranoid of cameras and things. I know some years ago there was an idea that televisions were a two-way proposition. And I'm just wondering if the TVs have garnered any attention lately, too.
Yeah, well, certainly they have. And you're right about that. I remember all of those stories, certainly going back to the 70s, that TVs were two-way, right? And it was, it used to freak me out, just that thought, sitting in front of the TV. And then I remember in the 90s, there was even more news about that. When DirecTV came out and cable really started to be installed in every home, that this was now a two-way situation, and it was a creepy thought. Well, today a smart TV is just that. That is a two-way communication, and the one thing that you don't know, and some smart TVs are more guilty of this than others, but they all have the ability to record what is going on in your living room in front of that TV anytime, day or night. So if you have
a little too smart.
Yep, if you have a smart TV, from now on, whatever you do in front of that TV, you better be real conscious about the man not only watching you, but recording you. Now, it could be, look, you could be doing doofus stuff, whatever, that you don't want recorded. But how about a private conversation between you and a friend, right? Yeah. You need to really be conscious about how and what you say. I mean, seriously, because later on, if you get charged with something or something goes down or somebody accuses you of something, could be anything. Your neighbor says that you kicked his dog, whatever. But you find yourself in a weird position, and the next thing you know, the DA does some kind of data collection on you and goes and gets something from Samsung, and it's a conversation of, you sitting in your living room, talking privately with your wife or a friend, and they go, aha, but you said this. Wait a minute here.
Along those lines, what about the cars? I mean, smart cars anymore. I mean, you're driving in your car where you have, every expectation of privacy.
Right.
And I got to figure it's the same deal.
Yes. Any microphone like that is connected to the net can be turned on and off at any point. And not only that, but in most cases, that stuff is left on and is recording all the time. And you talk about your car. How about your refrigerator? Your smart fridge now that is sitting in your kitchen. Think about that, man.
That's just cold, Jimmy. That's just cold.
I know it is. It is. And what about I'm talking about smart TVs in your living room. How about the smart TV in your kid's bedroom? Think about that for a second. Think about that. And your bedroom. You need to really be conscious now about what is going on out there, because I'm telling you, smart TV, tape over the microphone, tape over a camera, your laptop, tape over the camera, your cam that you have hooked up to your computers, which I have a few here, they're all pointed away from me. That's just, or tape is over it, because I don't know. Who could be looking at me during the day or turning on the. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't trust it.
Yeah, and it's the same thing from UFOs. You get accused of considering UFOs are real. It's kind of that same insanity with taping your camera on your laptop. I have been taping my laptop camera for years, and you get that same kind of ridicule. Oh, you're just being paranoid. Well, maybe, but it's valid.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that episode of Black Mirror with the kid, right, who goes and his sister gets some kind of malware on his computer, and he goes and he turns the computer on and whatever, and it immediately starts recording him in his bedroom, and what happens to him. You need to go watch that episode of Black Mirror and how that thing ended, and it was not. Woof! That was one of the most unpleasant things to see. Hey, Ken, thank you for the phone call tonight, man. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Love the show, Jimmy. You sure will.
Thank you, Ken. All right. Yeah, tomorrow night, Dr. Rita Louise is going to be here, and we're going to talk about her new documentary. And Wednesday night, Ronnie LeBlanc and his new book, Monsterland. Thursday night, John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Of course, that's going to be Fader night. Friday night, Coast to Coast. Saturday night, Coast to Coast. So there you go. We'll Rita and I will have Sunday to sleep in. Now, really quick, I've got some really cool stuff here. And if you go over to our Jimmy Church Radio Facebook page, we've got pictures and stuff over there. And I'm sure somebody is going to be posting these here on Twitter in just a second. But Iraqi forces have retaken the ancient Syrian village and city of Nimrud. For centuries, the massive Assyrian city in northern Iraq has laid buried beneath the sands of time, forgotten by history. Well, Archaeologists first began excavating Nimrud, built nearly 3,000 years ago in the late 1840s. In the decades that followed, they unearthed priceless treasures from the city, including palaces adorned with frescoes and giant sculpture that offered that unique window into Iraq's past. Well, last year, ISIS went in and blew up the walled city. They went into the museum there. They took axes and hammers and sledgehammers and power tools and leveled everything. Tore everything down off the absolute priceless part of our past. They ruined it. They leveled it. Well, this past Sunday, finally, Iraqi forces liberated the city of Nimrud and the site of the ruins as part of the ongoing battle for Mosul. And I don't know what's left, but and certainly I hope that some things were, but you've all seen the videos, and they were horrific. But Nimrud has been liberated. There you go. One of the things that I have noticed, Rita just says, I tape nothing. I tape nothing. I've been trying to get news on Mosul. Can't do it. Can't do it. Not from news sites. I was going the other way, man. The last 4 or 5 days or so, I've been trying to find videos on YouTube. Just independently posted stuff. And I'll tell you what I found today. You can go and look this up. I looked up ISIS surrenders in Mosul, and click for videos. And I found this video today of this ISIS dude coming, crying like a little girl. It was hilarious. Little tiny guy, too. He had his beard and, he's trying to look all rough. But compared to the Iraqi forces that were there, that it looked like either this guy was 5 foot tall and everybody was 6 foot tall, or if this guy was 6 foot, all of the Iraqi dudes were 7 foot. Absolutely big, hulking guys, man, with their body armor. And this guy comes out with his... I think he had on a Barney T-shirt or a Mickey Mouse T-shirt. I'm not making this up, by the way. You have to go see the video. It's hilarious. Anyway, we also posted this mysterious unidentified object that crashed in Myanmar. And it looks like, this was the press release, was a large unidentified metal object fell from the sky last Thursday, November 10th, in a remote mountainous region of Myanmar. The cylindrical object, which was about 12 feet long and 5 feet in diameter, blasted into a village of Long Kin near a jade mine. Villagers were woke up early in the morning to a loud boom and vibrations when the object fell to the ground. No one was injured, and the UFO ripped through a jade miner's tent, and afterwards the smell of burning filled the air. Now, that's the story. They're calling it a UFO. Go and look at the picture. Mark Tarana just retweeted it. Oh, somebody else retweeted this too. I'm going to get to this here in a second, the Caspian Sea. And there you go. Okay. Now, look at this object. I'm guessing, this is my guess, and this is what, it's a booster rocket from the Chinese. That's what I think that is, right? But they're going to call it a UFO. So there you go. But it did drop from the sky, and it is unidentified. If it was a jet engine and it doesn't look like that, I would think that they would be able to trace where the engine came from because a plane somewhere landed without an engine. But there you go. Chinese booster rocket. That's what it looks like to me. Let's see here. Let's go to... I don't have the Caspian Sea story here. I thought I did. Hold on. Wow, I don't have it here. Okay, my bad. I'm going to go to this story, though. An Australian telescope has joined the hunt for aliens. Breakthrough Listen, that organization has recruited the Parkes Radio Telescope to help listen in on the newly discovered planet circling the sun's nearest neighbor. You know what I'm talking about, right? Proxima b. The radio telescope near the town of Parkes, Australia, this week joined the privately funded Breakthrough Listen project in hopes of discovering evidence that a technically advanced civilization exists out at Proxima b, the planet. The Parkes telescope's first target was Proxima Centauri, a red dwarf star that is our sun's nearest neighbor. In August, astronomers announced that an Earth-sized planet, Proxima b, circles the star at the right distance for water, if any exists, to pool on its surface, and a condition believed, of course, necessary for life. And let's see here. Okay, two quick things. I got to get these in. A robot has solved the Rubik's Cube in less than a second, cracking the 3D puzzle about 10 times faster than the human who holds the world record. In just over a half a second, 0.637 seconds, the Sub-1 reloaded robot made all the sides the same color. I'm not making this up. A half a second. You should see the video. You know what it looks like? Bzz. That's what it looks like. No, it looks more like this. Bzz. That fast. An empty solar-powered houseboat washed ashore in Ireland. You need to go and check this out. Somebody post this because I got to get out of here. This houseboat floated from Newfoundland to Ireland with solar panels on the top. Totally abandoned. 1,900 miles. The whole story is over on our Facebook page. I want to thank Bryan Lunduke right now for an excellent show tonight. Tomorrow night, Dr. Rita Louise right here. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show's produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Fady by Dale. Webmasters Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space.